everything is open and is available for me when I need it. That I don't need to adjust what I am doing to be able to access services and to get information that I need, that the facility where I'm going and the staff that I'm dealing with will have already considered what I might need, and they'll have things in place, or will be able to put things in place so that I can access my services. Everybody is welcome. You know, nobody is left out. Accessibility is actually a very simple concept for my family. It means that we're able to find and utilize all the services that we need for our daughter's care. So this means that the facilities that we're going to are easy to get into and to navigate around. It means that the staff have all the information that they need to be able to help us. And it means that the services themselves are easy to obtain. Because our daughter is confined to a wheelchair at this point, accessing buildings, particularly older buildings, can be very difficult for us. We need to know what entrances to go to, where we can expect to find a wheelchair ramp. If we need to get a wheelchair for her to move around within the building, we need to know where to find those. And we also need to know where all of the elevators and barrier-free washrooms are. Well, the information and communications offered through SickKids are what really help us to build a successful visit. We need to use those resources to plan our visits, to know where the clinics are and what we need to prepare before a clinic visit, and as well what things we need to do prior to or after any sort of test or procedure is done. It's also very important for us that all of the communication and resources are accessible, because as Kathleen gets older and she takes more control of her own care situation, she's going to need to access those communication pieces as well, so she can take an active part in her own care. And so that includes things like the website for SickKids Hospital. For me, the website is really my first point of access to any facility or service that I need. It's where I go to find the information about where clinics are, about what I can expect during my visit. And I expect that as Kathleen gets older, she's going to be more involved in that sort of process as well. So availability of different sized prints of different formats through the website as well as through the resources in the hospital will become more and more important for her too. For my family, SickKids is, of course, first and foremost a hospital, but it's become over the years a bit of a community as well. And when these resources that are necessary for us to utilize are also available for the staff, I know that the staff and the volunteers that we encounter are going to be able to provide the help that we need. And it also shows to us that SickKids is open and inclusive of absolutely everybody, regardless of what their situation may be, and regardless of whether they're a client, a long-term patient, or a staff member or a volunteer. I think one thing that we've discovered over the years with the accessible communication as well that sometimes can get forgotten about is that it needs to be dynamic. Our situation is always evolving, it's always changing, and we fully expect that as our daughter gets older and starts to take over some of her care, her needs are going to change, and the resources and the support services that are in place for her are going to need to adapt to be able to remain useful for her and for any of her peers who need them as well. Accessible communication and information provides me with the practical information that I need to have a successful visit to SickKids Hospital. It's concise and simple. It's offered in different formats, formats that Kathleen will be able to access as she gets older. And it's also, like I said, adaptable. It's something that's going to be updated on a regular basis to take in new and maybe more challenging situations in the future. A culture of accessibility for me means that accessible services and accessible resources aren't a second thought. They're embedded in everything that you do and that you say in your approach to providing services. Disability and ability are really part of a continuous spectrum. Disability is not necessarily a negative. I like to think of it more as difference in ability. Everybody has abilities, everybody has challenges. People just fall at different areas on that particular spectrum. I think very simply, accessibility for Kathleen would mean that everything that's available to her peers, to her friends, to her family, whether it's services or it's play opportunities or educational opportunities, it's equally available to her. She just might use it a little bit differently. Accessibility in her life helps her to have a happy and fulfilled life. It's really as simple as that. Kathleen is, despite her challenges and her differences, very much like her typically developing peers. She has her own personality, she has her own wants and needs. She's figuring out what she can do, what she can't do, what she might have to do differently. And I think it's always going to be very important to her that she has an aspect of control over her life and what she's able to do with it. And based on her curiosity and her enjoyment of life right now, she's only going to want to do more and more. So accessible communications, accessible facilities, accessibility in life in general is going to be crucial for her to be able to live the life that she really wants to. Kathleen is a lovely, sociable girl who loves interacting with peers, with people of all ages, adults, children, able-bodied, disabled. She is curious, and she's always striving to learn more and to do more on her own. She's developing a very, very independent personality, and it's something that we want to encourage. The best part of being Kathleen's mother really is just being able to share my life with her and to see how she becomes a part of everything that we do and everything that we love. Being with her, in honesty, is really the best part of having her. She's been a joy to have as a part of our family, and we look forward to the future with her. I actually have found that I can bring a very useful and unique perspective to not only the Family Center Care Advisory Council in general, but to the Accessibility Committee at SickKids Hospital. As a parent of a child with physical and challenges and sensory deprivations, I have a perspective that many of the people who are a part of the SickKids community might not have, and I found that I can actually provide very useful information about what it's like to be a visitor to SickKids Hospital and to need some of these facilities and services. It's something that also helps me as a parent of a child with disabilities. I can take what to this point has been a fairly challenging situation for my family, and I can make something positive of it by sharing the learning that we have developed and helping to develop my own unique perspective as well, because everything that I share with SickKids volunteers and staff members is useful information that I apply to my own life as well. So it's a two-way learning street for SickKids as well as for my family and myself. Sure. I think it's not a specific instance, a standalone instance where accessibility here has been a real success. It's kind of been an integrated success, because I know when I come to SickKids, I have the ability to get around the way I need to get around. When we're sitting in waiting rooms at various clinics, there are different types of toys and sort of sensory stimulating devices that Kathleen enjoys and that actually help her as she's playing. And I know that it's something that's foremost in the minds of the people who are helping to provide the services. So it's more of an integrated experience, success experience with accessibility. And I also know that staff members who may have challenges, either temporary or permanent ones themselves, are going to be able to be a part of the SickKids community. And that's very encouraging for us, because we know that people who work in a hospital setting like this but experience their own challenges bring their own unique perspective and have a connection with us that maybe we wouldn't have with some other staff members, and it's important for our overall care and well-being.